lost without you. Anyways, it is the geography of Canaan in Palestine. So if we look today, this is going to be the area up it. So where we have Israel, Lebanon, Palestine, those places are going to be where we're talking about today. If we go look way back then, we see this is probably the route that Abraham took, the green. This is what we think is the route that the Israelites took with Moses after the Exodus, although this is definitely more of a guess than the other one. Okay, so let's look about this. And one of the things that we're doing with this is we're trying to look at where was a great place for agriculture and settlement and where were not so great places for agriculture and settlement. So with this, we could see the best places for farming are going to be what color? This is not a hard question, by the way. Danny.
Green.
Green. Yeah, it makes sense. Plant, all that stuff. And the places that are not great for farming are what color? Orange.
Tan and brown.
Yeah, tan and brown, because it's kind of like dirt, like that kind of idea, like it's barren. And so we see places like the coastal plains, very green, very nice. Sea of Galilee around there, very green, very nice. Jordan River, very green, very nice. And then we're going to see some mountainous areas that are just like, you're not going to be able to grow a lot of crops on the mountains. Sorry, it's not going to work. The Negev is going to be kind of like this deserty kind of area, like smack dab in the middle of it. So let's look at these different places and talk about why is it just a fine and dandy place to go. So the coastal plains is going to be one of the #1 locations for Haley to start her new life in the land of milk and honey. She chooses the coastal plain because it actually gets rain. This is a big deal. So one of the things we're going to notice about this area of the world is rain is not always the most common thing. So being close to the Mediterranean Sea, we have all of those winds coming from there, bringing moisture and rain water onto the land. So this is going to be a great place for a lot of farming. But here's what's even better. See, Haley, of course she wants to grow wheat so she can go, make her hamburger buns so she can grill some, some burgers on the weekends. But also she knows because of the climate, she can grow olives and grapes. Now, I know some of you are thinking, I love olives and grapes. They're so delicious. But that is not actually the main reason why they want to have olives and grapes. Does anyone know the really, really important product people were making, especially back then, but still even today with olives? Does anybody know? No? You know what happens if you smush olives up? And don't say olive juice, because it's not what we want. Some of you guys have it in your kitchens right now. You might see your family going and using it maybe right before they put something in the pan. Danielle?
Olive oil?
Olive oil. Was that a hand, Ashlyn? I couldn't tell because of the perspective. Was that what you were going to say too, darling? Okay, sorry. I'll know that that's what that looks like now with this peculiar angle. Is it like your computer like sideways too? It's cool, but it was just like trying to figure out. Yeah, olive oil. You see, olive oil is going to be like one of the ancient world's cash crops. It was so useful. Not only is it fantastic for cooking, but also if you're having an oil lamp, that's one of the oils they use. If you need lubrication, something to make things go more smoothly, they used olive oil. They used olive oil, like, in the Old Testament all the time, they're like anointed with oil. Guess what? That's because they're using olive oil. Olive oil, they even use it with some of their bathing. Like they would go and, Divine's feeling all stinky and stuff like that and dirty. You'd put olive oil like on his arm and take a seashell and like scrape the oil off, and it would pick up all of the like dirt and grime and yuck off of him. And also do a wonderful job exfoliating his skin, which, boys, the young ladies probably know what exfoliating is. I only know because I've got, a wife and a daughter. Anyways, they'd also have grapes, which, yes, grapes are delicious to go yum, 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 but they would smush them and make, what product do you think they're making with grapes? And that's awesome. I'm glad you know a little bit about them. What product do you think they're making with grapes? your mummies and daddies might have some of this in the house too. Austin?
Wine.
Yeah,
Beer.
exactly. And wine is going to be a super popular product back then for the ancient world where they make tons of money off of it. And really, one of the main reasons why things like wine and beer were so popular in the ancient world is because you couldn't always trust the water you're drinking. So they would mix some of that in with their water because they would actually water these things down a lot. It was actually considered really bad to like drink like wine or beer that's not watered down because it would make you drunk. But they would put water in it so that just the germs in the water would die. They didn't know that's what it was doing, killing germs and bacteria so that you could drink the water. But they knew, like, if Caleb just drank regular water, he would get sick. But if he mixed a little bit of wine in it, it would go and make it so he wouldn't get sick from the water. That's very cool, Haley. I love it. Now, disadvantages of the coastal plain, however. Some parts are hilly and rocky, so you couldn't just grow. We see the pictures right here, how we have some hilly, rocky spots that aren't going to be great for farmland. And another problem, there is no major river through the coastal plains. So if it didn't rain, if there was some sort of drought or something like that, you'd be in big, big trouble. All right, now let's look at the Jordan River. Now, the Jordan River is not going to be like the Tigris, Euphrates, and Nile rivers that we have studied in the past. It does not have flooding or, therefore, no silt. It doesn't, start in a big, super tall mountain and then come down. It's also much smaller than these, but it is going to be a great place for fresh water. And fresh water is going to be very important because, you have fish and, of course, wild animals want fresh water too. Yes, Mariah, my dear? And then I'll get to Haley.
My brother got baptized in the Jordan River.
Really? Cool. That's really cool. I'm assuming probably one of your older brothers and not Eli. Awesome. That's really neat. Haley, did you want to say something too, darling? Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I thought that was a hand move. Anyways, lots of fish so you can go and eat. And plus, wild animals are going to live near the river too because wild animals like to drink water too. They get thirsty as well. I watch the squirrels all the time. I have a little pond in my backyard, and the squirrel runs up to the waterfall that I have and drinks from it. It's so cute seeing the squirrels drinking from my pond. So yeah, animals like water too. Plus, because of this area, because they're able to have so much water near it, this is where we're going to see lots of domesticated animals, so horses, donkeys, goats, sheep, pigs, cattle, all that good stuff. And we know next to a river, land is pretty fertile. Just the thing is, this is not going to be as good as the Tigris, Euphrates, or Nile because of the no flooding. They have this question here, but I feel like we already kind of know that, so we're not going to worry about that right there. Next, the Sea of Galilee is going to be another really good location for farming and living near. We call it a sea. It's really more of like a big lake. I mean, there are lakes, things that we call lakes, like the Great Lakes, that are bigger than this quote-unquote sea, but it's called the Sea of Galilee. And once again, it's very fertile around the Sea of Galilee, and lots of fish and wildlife are going to live there. So those were all great locations. Next, we get to the Dead Sea, which some of you might see like the word sea and think, oh, well, it'll probably be a good spot to live near that. And living in it's not bad, but it's not as good because you're not going to have the same kind of fish and wildlife coming there because the Dead Sea is incredible. The Dead Sea is one of the saltiest places on Earth. Literally, it's 6 times salter than the ocean. People go there and visit, and one of the things to do is just anyone know when you're in the water and you're just floating, on there? Apparently the Dead Sea, it's hard to do anything but float. You couldn't really sink in it very well because there's just so much salt in it that it pops you right back up to the surface. But because there's so much salt, things can't live in there. You're not going to have fishies or anything like that. So, yes, Mariah, my dear?
Some of my family went on a trip to Jordan, and so that's when my brother got baptized in the Jordan River.
Did you
and they
know?
got in the Dead Sea, and they said they could pick up scoops of salt.
Yeah. I mean, what do we think these things here are? What do you think they are?
Salt.
Yeah. These are giant things of salt. So way more salt even than you use for your mummies, which, by the way, be checking your mummies regularly. See if it's getting gross and yucky, with all sorts of liquid, because then we need to change the salt again. I checked mine yesterday, and mine are still looking really good. So I probably have another week to go before I do that. But please be checking, and if you're like I need to change this now, talk to me and I can help you, or you can just watch the video that I made the last time we did it. Anyways, although it's not going to be great for getting food, you are going to be able to use it for trade and transportation because it's a real big area and you're able to go and put your boats on it. But yeah, I want to go to the Dead Sea one day. And a lot of people actually go there. They think like it's good for you to like swim in it. Like it helps you medically. I mean, I don't know if there's real science behind it, but a lot of people go there for like, recuperation. Yes, Danielle, darling.
I thought the Dead Sea meant that like you can't it doesn't really move a lot, but then that would just be kind of weird if it didn't move.
Yeah, there's
So I was
currents and
thinking,
tides and all that stuff. But yeah, it's called Dead Sea just because nothing can live in it. All right, so some spots that are really, really bad for farming and living on would obviously be the mountains and the hills. All right, and then of course the desert. So these are going to be the spots that aren't so great. Now, when you guys have quizzy poos, I'm not going to be like, name the 4 bad places for farming. Like, I'm not going to do that, but you need to know the general idea. Like, it's good to farm near rivers or the coast, and it's bad to farm in mountains. Does that make sense? So that we want the general idea of how things work as opposed to, you don't need the specifics of these things. So the one area we hadn't talked about is the Negev, and we're going to see the people that live in there and some of the hilly mountainous areas. They're going to be nomadic herders. They're going to be shepherds. They're going to have lots of animals. So they're not going to do farming, but this is how those people are going to survive in that area. So that was our notes for the day. Do we have any questions about things?